Hello, hi. My name is Nicole Royal, host of Table for Us podcast, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Table for Us. But before we jump into this episode is going to be great. But before we jump into this episode, I first want to give honor to God and glory to God because without Him, none of the things that I do would be possible. He is so amazing. He allows me to be able to do the things that I do. He has blessed me with the talents and the creativeness that I have in order to do the things that I do. So I always want to give Him all the glory and all the praise before I do anything. Again, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Table for Us. Today, we are going to talk about a topic of baby mamas. Pretty much, though the stigmatism around baby mamas, those who, me particularly, I'm just going to tell you my story. I never planned or had intentions on being anybody's baby mama. In fact, when I was maybe about 13 or 14 years old, I remember writing in my diary. I feel like every girl at some point, they have this vision of what they want their future to look like. And because I was a Disney princess, grew up in that time, right? You have this idea that you're going to have this Prince Charming that is going to come, sweep you off your feet. You guys are going to live happily ever after. You're going to build this life together, and everything is just going to be rainbows and unicorns, right? So I remember writing in my diary, once I actually met my boyfriend at the time. I still have my diary. At this point, I'm about 15 years old when we met in high school. And I remember writing in my diary how we were going to get married. We were going to have 2 children, a boy and a girl. We were going to have a house with a white picket fence and a dog. That was always my vision and my dream. Okay. So, of course, what we actually want and visualize does not always happen. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. 19 years old is when I had my first child. Now, when I had my son, my boyfriend, who was also my high school sweetheart, we had actually broken up. So we were on a break, but we were still dealing with each other. Okay. So I got pregnant with my son. I was 19 years old. When I turned 20, shortly after I turned 20, my son was born. So I was pregnant at 19, but he was born once I was 20. So I was like a freshly out of the teen mom phase. When he was born, we decided to get back together. I got my first apartment in Oakland, California, and he was staying with his parents at the time, but we had a conversation about wanting to be a family, okay? And we actually got engaged. I can't remember when he actually proposed. It wasn't the most romantic proposal. It was just almost like an obligation type of proposal. He bought me a ring and so forth, and we ended up moving together in Oakland. I think I was staying there maybe for about 6 months or so before he actually decided to move in. He still had his room in his mom's house. I guess it was like a backup plan. But he basically slowly started moving all his stuff in, and we were living as a family. I want to say, so my son and my daughter are 3 years apart, right? So in between that, my son, actually right before he moved in is when I found out that he had another child that was on the way. And then that child was born, a girl, a daughter. Her and her mom and I, we met up, we talked, and that relationship is still solid to this day, right? So her and I had this understanding and respect for one another in the beginning, and that morphed into a sisterhood and love over the years. I love her to death. So although that had happened, I was hurt because the dream was always for him and I to have a son and a daughter together. But now it's okay, you already have a daughter. So I no longer wanted to basically have a daughter. I was fine with our son, but we ended up getting pregnant and we actually had a daughter together, and she has my whole entire face. If you guys know me, okay, and you ever see my child, my eldest daughter, she has taken my entire face, right? So honestly, when I was pregnant, I was hoping that she would be another boy. So when they told me she was a girl, I was actually sad. I was like, oh no. So I guess in my mind, I thought she wouldn't be special because he already had a daughter. And I was young, right? She was always special to me, but I was like, she wouldn't be special to her dad because he already had a daughter. But that was not the case. He loved all of his children. So my intentions was for us to actually be married first before we even had children. Okay. So the fact that we had children before actually being married was not my plan. I did not want to be a baby mama. I wanted to be a wife. And this was somebody who I had been with. So at this time, so we started dating when I was 15 in high school. So by the time I had my son, I was 20. So we got 5 years in. Now, again, we had a little short break. I don't remember how long that break was when we weren't together. And then once I had my daughter, that's 3 years after my son. So now I'm 23. What is that? 8 years that we've been together and we were engaged. I want to say, when did he propose? I feel like I might have been, our son was probably 1 year old when he proposed. So we're looking at basically 2 years of engagement. Then we had our son. So now we have 2 children, 2 years of engagement, and still no wedding. I think because we were so young, so he's 2 years older than me. And I think because we were so young, it was just a plan that we wanted to do. Like, I was ready, but I feel like for him, he felt like he was too young to actually take that step and get married and so forth. So I was being the kind of patient and impatient fiance at the time. And I never wanted to pressure anybody to do anything. Okay. So I think after a while, what happened, so after our daughter was born, or actually, I take that back, let me back up. I was pregnant and I found out that my fiance was living a double life. So I am devastated, right? Pregnant, have my son. And when all this, I actually found all this out, it was literally right before I was about to go to work. So of course I had to go to work and deal with all of this, knowing that I am being cheated on, and come to find out this was somebody that he had been dealing with literally the entire time that we had been back together. So from our son being 9 months old up into me being pregnant, so a good 3.5 years, he had been living an entire separate life. And I was just devastated, literally devastated. I tried to make it work as best as I could because I'm like, we have a family. He literally told me that he was going to, of course, he told me everything that I needed to hear to keep his family together, right? That he was going to stop dealing with this girl and that they was over and that he loved me and our family. He wanted to keep our family together because my instant thing was just rage, right? I'm seeing red, like this hat here. Get out. Get your stuff. It was literally like that Angela Bassett scene from Waiting to Exhale. Get your and get out. You know what I'm saying? Ready to burn, cut, bleach everything in sight. I didn't burn anything. I didn't bleach anything. I do recall snapping a bunch of his CDs in half. Now, we're talking late 90s, early 20s, where he had a whole collection of compact discs for music, as well as DVDs, movies. And I remember being so pissed. I'm going through just taking them out the case. And at the time, I think he was in the back, so he didn't realize what it was I was doing. And then he started hearing the snap. He's like, oh my God, like, it was crazy. So at that point, of course, trust is gone. And now the tension is setting in. The insecurities, because every time you are not around me, I am basically like, you're with this girl. And a couple of times, he had a pager, he didn't have a cell phone. I text him to basically, I forget, how did the pagers work? You would not text, you would send a page or whatever, and did he call me back? I feel like he called me back and he was at the girl's number, or she called me back. It was so much drama, let me tell you. I almost lost my job because I'm going back and forth on the phone with this girl and all that stuff. And in that moment, now I'm 23 years old. In that moment, I didn't realize what I was really doing to myself. And it took me a little time. I want to say she was 9 months when I finally was like, I'm not doing this no more. So I done had her, she born. So I go through my pregnancy. I can't remember how far along I was when I found all this out. I want to say I know I was showing. So I had to be like 6, 7 months or something like that when I found out. So my last few months of my pregnancy, I was very sad, very depressed. And after I had her, things got better. Because, of course, I'm trying to make things work because we have children together and this is my family. And it just never really got, of course, it was never back the way that it was because I don't trust you. The trust is gone. And every time his pager would go off, is this girl texting him, are you lying to me? And when we lived in Oakland, he worked in San Francisco. So he would go back and forth, whatever, San Francisco. And then I just started noticing like a lot of patterns that were changing. And I was just not okay with it. So I noticed that he would start coming in late. And he would always have this excuse of why he was coming in late. And I remember one time I waited up, literally waited up for him to get home and didn't go to sleep. I think I dozed off a couple of times, but I was literally sleeping in the living room. I had slept on the sofa. And it's 5 o'clock in the morning and he still ain't home. So here I hear him walking up to the door because the apartments in Oakland, our doors, it basically were on the outside. There wasn't, I don't know, it's hard to describe. If you're in Oakland, then you know how the apartment complexes are, most of them. The one that we lived in, everybody's doors were basically on the outside. You had to come through the security gate and then you walk up to the door. So we were the only 2-bedroom apartment in the complex that we lived in. So our unit was the last one. So I see him basically, the silhouette of him walking past the living room window. Unbeknownst to him, I didn't change the locks. I'm a handy-mandy type of person. So I was just like, oh, you're not about to disrespect me and think you're about to be coming in this house at any time of the hour. So I went and bought, or I don't know if I went and bought the extra lock or I already had it. I don't even remember, but I changed the locks. So he was just like trying to use, I could hear him rattling with the key, trying to get in the house and stuff. And then he knocked on the door saying, Nicole, you're not going to open the door. I know you do this. So I opened up the door, right? And it was just full-blown argument and all that stuff. And it got to the point where we had to sit down in a conversation because it was just getting to be too much toxic. And I didn't want all that around my children. So I was like, you know what? Because he didn't want to, what am I trying to say? Okay. So his only option was to go back to his mother's house at the time because he was working, but he wasn't making enough in order to get a place of his own. So his thing was, I'm not leaving and I'm not going back to my mother's house or whatever. We pretty much came up with this agreement that you can stay, we gonna co-parent, you gonna sleep in the living room, I got the bedroom. I drew up a whole contract, typed it up, all that stuff, printed out on my little computer and printer, had him sign it. It had some other stuff up in there as far as, I want to say rules, but I don't really want to call them rules. We just had the do's and don'ts of what each of us basically would do as far as respect because we were still living together. So that lasted, I want to say, for maybe 5-6 months. And I actually, this is truth be told here, table for us, truth be told. So I ended up meeting a guy. He was just a friend and we were talking. I had a cell phone. And of course, back then you had those minutes. So I couldn't talk to him. I could talk to him, but I didn't want to use my minutes. So I would wait until after 7 p.m. and I would talk to him. But I would be in the room. You got the front half, I got the back half. So I remember being on the phone, talking to my friend, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. It was just casual conversation, whatever. And my children's father, because the bathroom was right there by the room. So I don't know if he was going to the bathroom or he was just listening in, whatever. And one thing I will say is men cannot handle what they dish out. So he caught wind and he was like, who are you on the phone talking to? So I actually got off the phone because I'm still trying to be respectful and all that stuff. So I ended up getting off the phone. And he's questioning me like, who are you on the phone with? And just getting all mad and upset and stuff like that. And I said, this is my cell phone. You doing what you doing. And I have my friend that I talk to or whatever. So he got mad. He snatched my cell phone and he threw it out the window, y'all. And I was just like, did you throw my full-blown fight? At this point, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. It got a little physical. The police got called and they came. And because both of us lived there, right? They were like, we can take both of y'all to jail and we're going to take your children. We're going to call CPS to come pick up your children. I was like, oh no. I was like, can you just, and they said the most we can do is have him leave for a little bit to go calm down and stuff. And I said, okay, can you do that or whatever? And I was going to pack up some clothes and go stay at a family member's house or whatever for a little bit. So anyway, I decided in that moment, this is not for me. This is not working. It's very toxic. I'm very unhappy. And I decided that since he wasn't going to move, that I was just going to go find me another place. And if he wanted to stay there and pay the rent there, he could. I'm leaving. So I ended up finding a place in Sacramento. And it was one of those, what do you call them? Like income, not income based, but they had a maximum amount that you can make in order to live there or something. So it was like tax credit unit or something like that. Anyway, that ended up falling through because I was, I think, $100 or something over the maximum. I had already given my notice to my landlord or whatever at the time, packed up the house and stuff like that. So I ended up going to live with a cousin at the time. She was going through a separation from her marriage. So we decided to just live together, split the rent, split the bills and everything and stuff. So once I actually got my own place, because the plan was always for me to eventually get my own place. So once I actually got my own place again, I got a 2-bedroom. And this time I'm just focusing on my children. I am not worried about dating or anything of the sort. But in the back of my mind, I still wanted to be a wife. Like, I did not want to be a baby mama. So I'm living in my new 2-bedroom spot. And because my children were little, they were sharing basically a bedroom. I ended up meeting somebody. It wasn't intentional. My cousin came over to visit me and he came in with his best friend. And I don't know, we kind of locked eyes and it was just like this instant attraction. Okay. It was weird. I can't even explain it. But it wasn't like this instant physical attraction. It was just this, I don't know, like this soul attraction in a sense. And I don't know, he was flirting and stuff with me and we started to hang out, but we would just spend hours talking, just talking. He would just come over, we would hang out. We wouldn't even watch TV. We were just sitting on the sofa, just talking. Like we had so much in common. And that was the thing or whatever in that moment that I realized me and my children's father, although we had known each other for some time and it was like that high school crush, we didn't really have a lot of things in common. So I think over time, we literally just grew apart, was really what it was. And I think the obligation, because we had our son, for him, for his part was, I truly believe, and he told me that he loved me, but he also had feelings for this other person. So as much as it broke my heart, looking back, it was just like, I just wish you would have had that conversation with me so that I'm not all into this, but you halfway in and then halfway over here, because I felt like there was a lot of years that was wasted or stolen from me that I couldn't get back. So anyway, now I'm in this new situation where we're just building this friendship, getting to know one another and everything. And then that friendship just turned into a relationship and he moved in and he didn't have any children, but he was all in as far as, because I'm like, look, I'm a package deal. I come with these 2 children and he loved them to death, right? He was in full stepdaddy mode, showed up for sports events. He was there for important stuff, some assemblies. There was these mother, son, daddy, daughter dance. And now let me just pause real quick. I never told my children's father that he could not see them. When we broke up, he didn't want to actually break up. But I felt because we weren't together anymore, he started to draw back on his father duties. And I'm not the type to sit up here and be forcing anybody to do something that they don't want to do, that they should be doing anyway. I was just like, when you want to see them, you can see them. But my thing was, you need to be consistent, right? Don't show up one time and then they don't hear from you another time. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to do that. So at some point, he just had a lot that was going on with his life. So there was a period of time where he just wasn't around for the children. So my then partner, he stepped in. He was on full daddy mode and did drop-offs, pickups. I remember one time the school called, and I believe it was my son. He was sick. And they were like, I think he had threw up and he needed to be picked up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he would drop me off at work and would drive my car Yes. He had no job at the time. He was driving my car. We don't talk about that now. I'm 24, 25, young, dumb, stupid, all the stuff, right? So anyway, I call him and I'm like, hey, the school just called. Trey needs to be picked up. And he's already got him. I'm like, what? And I guess the school had called him too because he was on their emergency cards as a alternate emergency person. So I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, what y'all doing? He was like, oh, we chilling, we hanging out. I'm like, oh, okay. So he was just like full blown. I'm like, okay, like I'm falling in love because you showing up for me, showing up for my children. And he was always so kind and so sweet. My family loved him and everything. And so we were together for about 2.5, 3 years. And then we ended up getting pregnant with our daughter. We had plans that this is what we was going to do. Like she was actually a planned pregnancy. And again, I don't want to be no baby mama. So we talked about getting married and everything. We actually did get married. I'm going to tell y'all about that. Hold on, because I'm trying to go through the timeline here. So we ended up getting married, but it wasn't before our daughter was born. So we get pregnant and we have our daughter, and then stuff just changed. I never expected for him to turn into an absent father. I was just like, how you go from being daddy of the year to 2 children that are not yours to just disappearing on your own? And I was so shocked and so devastating. And I know some of you guys are probably watching this like there had to be some red flags. When it came to the children, there were no red flags whatsoever. I just knew that he was what he did for the 2 that weren't biologically his, he was going to do for the one that actually was his because it was his first child. Now, as far as our relationship goes, there were some flags where it was just like, okay, the not being consistent with keeping a job. He finally did get into a construction program and he was working construction and so forth. But when it came to our daughter, I think he was more so like excited about her. You can see it in his face when she was born and everything. But when it came to the whole working thing, he was more attracted to the quick money. So he was a hustler, right? And he felt like that money was better money than having to sit up here and work these hours at a construction job, making honest money and having to wait for a paycheck. So he was just like, I make more money doing this. I make it quick, blah, blah, blah. And I'm steady trying to tell him, no, we have our daughter now. You can't be doing this. You need to be working and doing things honestly. And I think me constantly being on him pushed him further into what it was that he wanted to do. So basically what ended up happening is he found somebody who was in the streets too, a ripper, is what I'm gonna call her. She was a ripper. And she was, and what, oh my God, I can't think of the phrase that he actually called her. He was like, there's nothing going on with us. She just handled everything and stuff so I could be here at the house. And she was basically doing the running and stuff. She was a runner. That's what he called her. But I called her a ripper. He called her a runner. So I wasn't buying what he was selling. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's more going on than what you telling me. And you doing more than what you was doing. Because at this point, we were living in Concord. But he would spend all his time in the city because that's where he was hustling at. So there was some nights when he wouldn't come home. And then one time I was fed up and I pretty much gave him an ultimatum. And I was just like, look, like either it's going to be us or it's going to be that. And needless to say, he pretty much, in my eyes, he told me he didn't. But in my eyes, he chose the streets. So I was devastated all over again, heartbroken, because here again, I've trusted somebody with my love, with my time, with my children. My children were attached to him at the time. And I'm just like, I did it again. I done picked the wrong person. And I can't really say that I picked the wrong person. I felt like I was blinded to the flags because I wanted this family aspect, because when I was growing up, I didn't have my dad around when I was growing up and my home was pretty much broken. So I was trying so hard to provide this foundation and this family for my children that I was willing to ignore so many things. So I can't remember how many nights it was, but I remember there was maybe almost a week, honestly, where he didn't come home. Okay? You can't tell me you're not out there doing something with your little runner ripper. I finally was just like, okay, I got to move on. you not answering my phone calls. I'm calling you, you not answering. So I'm like, it was just disrespect on top of disrespect at this point. So handy mandy. At this point, where were we living? At this point, we had moved from Concord and now we're living in Oakland. I done moved to so many different places or whatever. The reason we moved is because him and his hustling got our house raided when we were in Concord. So I immediately was like, we gotta go. We can't live here. They gonna evict us, blah, blah, blah. So I found a place in Oakland that, of course, I felt like, all right, it's a little closer. It's not that far out from the city or whatever, because I'm commuting too, because I worked in the city. So when he didn't come home, I handy Mandy or Handy Manny, Manda, or whatever you want to call it, I changed the locks. 2 weeks go by. No phone call, no text, no, you ain't showed up or nothing. And y'all, why he show up to my house trying to use his key? Sir, you don't live here no more. Like, when I've had enough and I have to, back then, I would deal with so much stuff that it was just like, to the point where I had to go through that course. You know what I'm saying? But it was just like, all right, I'm not going to keep dealing with this disrespect and all that stuff. So I'm done. He showed up trying to use that key, y'all. And I was like, I think I was in my room. It was, matter of fact, guess what time it was? It was 2:00 in the morning, y'all. And he trying to use his key to get up in the house. And I don't think I heard him trying to use his key. What it was is he ended up calling me on the phone. And I see it, I'm like, oh, he finally calling. So I pick up and I'm like, what's up? Nicole, my key not working. I said, because you don't live here no more. You abandoned your family. I didn't abandon my family. And again, I am not the type of person who is going to keep my children from their father. I'm not going to do that. We're not together, but I will let you see your children. So he's like, so you just going to kick me out like that? And I had sent him so many messages and voicemails and stuff. I didn't just change the locks. I literally was just like, I'm done with you. You want to be in the streets. You want to be with your little ripper. Go ahead and be with your little runner ripper. You come get your clothes. I'm done. So that was literally probably like the first night he didn't come home. I was like, I'm done. He ignored my phone calls, right? So every day I'm reaching out, I'm leaving messages and stuff like that. And I guess in his mind, he's like, she didn't kick me out, so there's no need for me to answer the phone. But then 2 weeks go by and you show up at 2:00 in the morning trying to use your key and it's like, you don't live here no more. I didn't change the locks. I'm done. I didn't close the door on that chapter or whatever. And I'm trying to see my kids. You gonna keep me from seeing my kids? This is what he's saying on the phone. I'm like, it's 2:00 in the morning. They sleep. At this point, our daughter was almost 1 year old. And my other kids were, 4 and 7 or something like that, because they're all 3 years apart. And I said, you can come back at 2:00 in the afternoon, a decent time to come and see them. You're not about to see them right now. And he's like, so you're just going to keep me from my kids? So I went ahead and I opened up the door because I'm like, you're not about to tell nobody I done kept you from your children. And he never made differences when it came to them. Like, he was talking about all 3 of them. So I remember he comes in, right? And he goes to my daughter's room first, right? She had her own room. My son had his own room. We had a 3-bedroom at this point. And my baby girl, she still was in her crib, so her crib was in my room. He goes to our daughter's room. No, I'm lying. He goes to my son's room first. Look in on him. He see he's sleeping and stuff. He closes his door. He goes in my daughter's room, right? And he actually sits down on her bed. I'm like, what are you doing? You about to wake her up, right? So he sits down on her bed and these tears start forming in his eyes. I was like, come on, you're not going to do this in here, right? You about to wake her up. And then he goes into my room, which used to be our room. He goes in my room. He looks at our daughter or whatever. And then he comes out and he sits on the sofa. And I'm like, what are you doing? You seen them. You got to go, right? And he goes, I'm just repeating what he says. He's like, where that nigga? And I was like, what nigga? What are you talking about? He was like, that nigga you messing with, blah, blah, blah. And I go, what are you, like, there is nobody here. I don't know what you're talking about. So my rebuttal literally was like, where that be at or whatever, right? And then he goes, she outside in the car. And I said, you brought her to my house? She outside my house? Really? Now, just for some context, there was a lot of like exchange going back and forth between me and this girl, right? Like, she being disrespectful and stuff on the phone. And I'm like, you better get your HOE in check or whatever and stuff, because she talking a bunch of mess. And look, because at this point, we're not together no more. You know what I'm saying? Do you or whatever, right? So literally, it was a bunch of back and forth drama and all that stuff. But he decided that this is who he was going to be with, the runner or whatever. So I would drop my daughter off, as aching as it was, because my heart is still broken, because I'm like, this was the one that I'm like, okay, we're going to be together. We're going to get married, all the stuff. Again, I never intended on being anybody's baby mama. So there was a bunch of back and forth and like trying to make it work, not trying to make it work. So fast forward a little bit. So my daughter is now, how old was she? I think she was maybe 1.5 or 2 years old or whatever. And I'm sitting in a diner. Now, they were all at school, daycare, whatever. I went to this diner to go get me something to eat called BJ's. B&J's, excuse me, not BJ's. B&J's on 3rd Street, 3rd and Paul, to be exact. My favorite spot, I would go there. I would get a grilled cheese sandwich. I would get a bag of grease, and that is the French fries. For those of y'all who don't know, like, French fries were greasy, but they were so good. And then I would get a 7-Up milkshake, and that was what I would get, and then I would be on my way to go to work. I'm sitting there, right? I'm sad as I don't know what, because my heart done been broken. My baby daddy done cheated on me, and I'm like, go be with her, whatever, and all this stuff. And I'm sitting in this diner, and this guy who I used to talk to when I was probably, I don't know, he used to always try to talk to me. We actually didn't actually talk. We talked for a little bit. I want to say I was probably like 18 or something. I don't know. I don't even remember how old I was. And he's like, hey, I haven't seen you in so long. Blah, blah, blah. What you been up to? You skipped out on me. I haven't seen you in a long time. I hadn't seen him in years. So we're catching up and stuff. And he notices that something is going on. He's, what's up? Why are you looking all sad here? Like you lost your, I think he said, and he's this jokester. Like he would always make these jokes. And he was like, you looking like your puppy done died or something, I think he said. And it made me laugh. And that probably was the first time that I had laughed in a while. Because at this point, it had been like probably maybe almost a year, I think, since my youngest daughter and her father and we had split up. So he made me laugh, and I was just like, okay, get away from me. So he was like, let's exchange numbers or whatever. It's been a while, blah, blah, blah. So we exchanged numbers, and I don't know what happened. I didn't hear from him. I wasn't tripping because I'm like single mom trying to take care of my 3 children and make sure they good, and they got stuff going on with school and sports and all that stuff, right? So he ended up contacting me, and I'm going to save y'all the details. Basically, we end up back together after all these years. Because again, I said we used to date when I was like 18 or something. And I don't know, he literally was saying all the right things that I needed to hear. Now, this guy was very charming and very strategic, I will say, with his words. Okay? And that's the nice way of basically calling him a manipulator in a sense, or a narcissist. He was very good with his work. And something happened. He ended up going to jail or something. And we were exchanging phone calls. He would call me and letters and stuff like that. And then it turned into, oh, come see me, come visit me and all that stuff. And he was literally just saying all the right things. Now, let me just say this for anybody who's out there and you're in a relationship with somebody who's in prison. There is no judgment here for me because I've been there. I understand how it goes. It's like, 1, they're saying everything that you want to hear. 2, you feel like once you're in it, that you're now obligated to how can I put this? You feel like I can't leave this person. I'm in this now. They depend on me, whether it's for letters, packages, conversations, whatever. And then they're like telling you all these things they're going to do when they come home. So you get basically, or I got hung up on the promises of when he would come home that we were going to have this life together. And he promised, he was like, I'm going to marry you and all this stuff. And now keep in mind, at this point, I am 27, 28 years old. And this man is telling me everything that I want to hear. Again, I am not trying to be nobody's baby mama. My goal has always been to be a wife, to be in this house with this white picket fence. So I'm listening to everything that he's telling me. Now, he actually had 2 children already. Two daughters. So, of course, he's like in my ear, like, oh, you're going to give me my son that I never had, yada, yada. And I'm like, yeah, as long as we married and all that stuff, sure, cool. Because I'm not trying to have another child and I'm not married. So he gets out of prison, right? He was in prison on, I believe, a parole violation. I don't remember what that violation is. Don't give me the line. So anyway, he gets out and let's go get your ring. Now, when they get out of prison, they get prison gate money or something like that when they get released. And he also was a hustler. So he was just like, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. We're going to go get your ring and we're getting married. Now, the red flags was telling me this is not somebody I should be marrying because 1, I'm still heartbroken from my daughter's father. And for 2, this man got so much stuff going on with his life with you on parole, you be back and forth in jail. He ain't had no job, but he kept money. He was a hustler and stuff. So my God and my subconscious is telling me, run, ma'am, run. But I want to be married so bad. And let me tell y'all, when you get married for the wrong reasons, it's not going to work. And it wasn't, again, this is truth be told. I got married for the wrong reasons. I went through with getting married for the wrong reasons. Okay? And those wrong reasons was I felt like I had something to prove because his baby mamas got wind that we were getting married and they basically was like, he not going to marry her. That's what it got back to me. So I'm like, he ain't going to marry me, huh? Okay, let me show you. I could show you better than I could tell you. That was my mentality back then. Always feeling like I had something to prove. Now, I ain't got nothing to prove. I don't care. Say what you say, and whatever your story you gonna tell about me, honestly, I don't care, because I know what the truth is. I'm not proving nobody wrong, okay? Think what you gonna think. But at the time then, I went through with it because I'm finna prove y'all wrong, and everybody else saying that he not gonna marry me, that he just talking. So we get married. Now, we actually was planning like a whole big wedding. Flower girls, bridesmaids. I'm ordering stuff off of Oriental Trading. Now, if y'all don't know what Oriental Trading, y'all too young to be watching my podcast right now. But I'm ordering stuff in bulk off of Oriental Trading, decorations and stuff for the reception, rose petals. I was going to make my own bouquets and things like that. Like I actually went and bought my daughters and his 2 girls their dresses. His youngest daughter and my 2 girls are going to be the flower girls. His oldest daughter, I wanted her to be a junior's bridesmaid. So she had a different little, it was so pretty, this white dress, y'all. And I would spend time with them and everything and stuff. And so anyway, things started getting to be too much. I was getting really stressed and overwhelmed. And of course, my family was telling me. And for some reason, when your family and your friends is telling you not to be with somebody, you tend to want to be with that person more because you feel like you want to prove them wrong, that it's going to work and stuff like that. So I'm like, no. And we eloped. We went to Reno. We got married. I wish I could find that DVD because we got a DVD. We had pictures. It was only myself, him, of course, and his brother. And then it was some white guy who just decided to sit in on the wedding. I was just like, who is this white guy? He was like, can I sit in? We're in this chapel in Reno or whatever. And I'm standing up there, and like on the video, if I could find it, I don't know where it's at, but my chest is going in. I'm looking like I'm about to pass out because I'm literally like, girl, what is you doing? Run. Do not marry this man. But we got married, and what happened? We get back to the Bay and stuff like that, and we all just over the moon excited, like we done got married. We all flashing our rings and stuff like that. And I don't remember what happened, but it was like something in me was like, look in his phone. Now, ladies, when you go looking for something and you find what it is that you was looking for, but you really didn't want to find, be prepared to make a decision. That decision is, I'm done with you. And you got to stand on it. Because if you don't, the respect that they have for you, it goes down. Because now it's okay, you gave me a second chance or a third chance or however many chances it is. And guess what? Each time that you're giving these chances, the respect that they have for you is going down a notch, right? Because now they're like, I could do whatever I want to do and you're not going to do nothing about it. You're going to be mad, but you're going to get over it, right? I learned this over the years. So I'm like, okay, I look in his phone and I see he done had this exchange and stuff with some female and she all is daddy in the phone and when I'm going to see you and all this stuff. Now, keep in mind, we just got married. We just got back from Reno. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. And of course, he's like, oh, first of all, he was mad that I went to his phone because, again, master manipulator. And that blew up into a whole argument. I don't even know what happened, but it was just like, his brother was like, y'all married, y'all better work this out, blah, blah, blah. And of course, okay, I'm married. And I said, when I got married, I'm married. There is no, okay, we married, we just getting a divorce. I'm married, we're going to work through this. Because I didn't get married just to get married, whatever. A month after we get married, he gets another parole violation, y'all. He gone. He in prison. So I'm a newlywed. He in prison. Now, where things really started to get bad at this point, because we had, maybe about 2 years of dating and back and forth in jail and stuff before we actually got married. So at this point, we working on about 3 years into this relationship and a month into being married. Now, I'm a dedicated mom as best as I could because I'm working full time, but I'm showing up for my children. They all got different things that's going on and stuff. So sometimes I'm just in casual clothes, right? Now, he in jail. We're going to fast forward. He gets out, right? And I get pregnant with our twins. I was pregnant with twins. About 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks after he get out, he back in jail, right? Now, at this point it was worse because this point he wasn't on no violation. He went and got a whole new charge and went and robbed, I want to say it was a corner store or a smoke shop or something. I don't know. So he goes back to jail. Now I'm pregnant. I find out I'm pregnant with twins. And he goes in on me with all of this nonsense. Now, again, we married and we had already discussed that he wanted a son and we was going to work on getting his son, right? And in the midst of, once I told him I was pregnant and that it was twins, he was like, that's too many children, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And what you going to do, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what do you mean what I'm going to do? We're married and you said you wanted a son. Like, we talked about this was planned. So I'm stressed and he going in on me talking about, yeah, you out there embarrassing me and you looking like some plain Jane, blah, 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 like just attacking my mental. So the relationship turned from him telling me everything that I want to hear to this verbal, mental, and emotional abusive marriage. He already basically had pretty much reverse psychology, like when I go to jail, you're going to divorce me, blah, blah, blah. So he already guilt tripped me. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. What are you talking about? I'm not going to divorce you, blah, blah, blah. We're married. We're going to work through stuff or whatever. And it took for me to miscarry one of my children, one of my babies. And they were like, you're going to lose both of them. So I literally was like, I can't deal with you. I'm not about to lose both my babies or whatever. So I miscarried one. The grace of God, my other baby made it. And he's calling me at this point now. I don't even want to talk to you because I'm pregnant and you're stressing me out. And I went and then told me how to miscarry one of my babies and I'm going to miscarry the other one. So we get into this argument where he attacking me and telling me I'm embarrassing because of how I'm dressing, because I'm looking like some plain Jane soccer mom or something like. So he really just getting down on me and my whole self-esteem is just not there. At this point, he has managed to alienate me from my family, from my friends, and to the point where it's like he was all that I had. So I stayed in this situation, this marriage longer than I should have. Fast forward, he gets mad at me and he says, I want out. And I'm like, okay, send me. I said, you want out? He's, I want out. You want a divorce? Yeah. Okay. Send me the papers. Right. Now, looking back, had he not said that, would I have stayed in that marriage? Probably longer than I should have. But at some point, I would have been like, I can't do this no more. I'm done. This again, I never intended to be a baby mama, but when situations become overwhelmingly toxic, you have to choose you and your sanity. You have to choose you and your happiness. You have to choose you and your peace at some point, right? When you're just forget what everybody else is talking about. Think about you, your peace, and your mental state, right? Do what you need to do for you so you can be happy. Nobody intentionally, I would hope nobody intentionally is out here wanting to be a baby mama. When you go into these relationships and so forth, you intend to be with this person, right? And in most cases, after you've been with this person, y'all didn't have a child. You have some people who have babies with people that they don't know. And then you have people who you think you know the person and then y'all have a baby and come to find out you don't know the person. People will pretend and they will be who you want them to be. But I will say this now at 47 years old, because at this, I was still in my 20s when all this was happening. Now at 47 years old, I will say, looking back, if I can go back and tell my younger self anything, is love yourself. Take time for yourself. When that first relationship ended after my two oldest kids' dad, I literally should have just, not that I was looking for a relationship, I should have just blocked all of that and just focused on me, right? Now where I'm at now, after my last relationship ended and there was a child born to that relationship as well, I'm literally taking time for myself. I have been single by myself for 6 years now, not dealing with anybody. And this has been the most happiest time that I have ever had, right? Because I don't have nobody dusty son stressing me out. Sorry, baby daddies. But I don't have nobody dusty son stressing me out. And I'm just focusing on me. I'm figuring out who I am. I literally was in one relationship and I left that relationship, in another relationship, left that relationship for different reasons and stuff, got married. My youngest daughter, we end up getting back together. We got married, but it was for all the wrong reasons, and got divorced. So I've been married and divorced twice. And now I'm just finally in a place in my life where I'm just choosing me now. And I just want to encourage women out there, if you have multiple children or you've never been married or whatever, there's no rush. Love yourself. God has somebody that's out there that's meant for you, right? Pay attention to the red flags, okay? Don't ignore the red flags because you're trying to see all the good in the person or you're trying to see the potential that somebody can be. Don't do that to yourself. And for those who are actually married, one thing I will say, in my second marriage, which was for the wrong reasons, it was more of a business thing. That's probably another episode. But anyway, one thing I will say from those that I know that have been married for a long time and I have conversations and stuff with them, marriage is work. Marriage is something you have to work at every day. It's not something to enter in lightly, okay? And it's not something that when you enter in, as soon as the first sign of trouble happens, you're ready to walk away. So I hope you guys could have some type of takeaway from this. And if you are a single mom, don't be hard on yourself for choosing you. Don't keep those children from their dad or that child from their dad just because a relationship didn't work out. Don't be like that. Don't be spiteful. Don't be vindictive. Let that man see his children as long as he has a child's best interest at heart and he is providing a safe environment for that child. And you guys need to have a cordial communication. Y'all need to be able to co-parent. That's one thing that, my children's fathers can say about me is that, look, I'm not about the drama. I want to be cool. I want to be cordial. You want to show up for this and that. I'm going to include you and whoever you with. If we having a family function or something, all y'all come. I'm that type of person. But it took me some time in order to get to this point in my life. I will say that. But the biggest thing has always been God for me. Keeping God at the midst of my life has always been able to will me back into what is most important. And that's just making sure my children is good and making sure that I provide a cordial, mature co-parenting situation between me and their dads. So yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in to Table for Us, for pulling up a seat to the chair. I hope you guys stay blessed. If you are interested in being a guest on my podcast, there is a link that will be below. Go ahead and click that link, fill it out, and come join the conversation at the table. Hi, I'm Nicolette Royal, and I am the owner of NRO Company. So that is Nicolette Royal Original Company. That is what that stands for, NRO Company for short. And it is a print business. And I actually started this business. It's actually, oh my goodness, it's about to be 6 years that I started this business. I started this business with a dream. My grandmother used to teach me how to sew when I was little, and I went to a sewing class one time. My best friend had invited me to a sewing class at her, she's in the mosque, and they were having a class, and she invited me to come, and I forgot how to sew. But in that class, what were we doing? We were working on a tote bag, and I was so amazed by the hands-on and everything, but it was almost like riding a bike, that everything that I remember my grandmother taught me just came flooding back in. So my children bought me this cute little, oh gosh, I don't have it here, but it was this cute little sewing machine. I named her Tabitha. And I just started using that and was like, I'm going to start making tote bags. I'm going to sell these tote bags. And eventually I got a bigger sewing machine, a working horse sewing machine. And what happened? The pandemic happened. So my shift from making tote bags shifted to actually making face masks. And I made a lot of money during that time. And then I ended up getting a cry cut machine. And that cry cut machine allowed me to customize these face masks. I would have a lot of people, once things start opening up, those face masks started becoming party favors for different people. And then I started doing t-shirts, and most of the t-shirts that I would do would be custom orders. So I would have people saying, hey, can you, because a lot of people started their own business. So they would say, hey, can you put my business logo on this shirt or so forth. So I would do a lot of those, or I would have people coming to me and they would have parties and they wanted something special on the shirt. Or it might have been, I started doing bonnets, which actually that took me so much time because I would actually hand make the bonnets, go get the fabric, cut it out, sew it, do all that good stuff, and then put whatever the person wanted on there. But it was so time consuming that I just couldn't do it anymore. My children used to help me initially with a lot of things, but as they start getting older, they started getting busy with their own things. So I had to figure out a way to keep my print business going without burning myself out. So I end up meeting or running across this young lady's page named Bougie Barbie on Instagram. She's actually, I believe she's retiring from digital products coming up soon. But I was able to get a couple of her courses and learn how to do print on demand. And basically what that was, I would sit there and design. So I used to go to Academy of Art College. So designing things and arts and all that was always a thing of mine. It was never something I wanted to go into full time, but it was just a gift that I had. So I started designing different things using Canva. And then through her, she introduced me to Printify. So I would then take my designs, put them on shirts, hoodies, bags, or whatever. And then I created an Etsy store. So all of my products are on Etsy. I will have my Etsy shop link below, and you can purchase whatever you want to purchase from my Etsy shop. Or if you're interested in starting your own print on demand business, I do have an ebook, and I will list my Stan Store link at the bottom so that you can be able to start your own print on demand business. It's very easy to do. And if you're not that creative with designs, there's all this AI technology out there. If you have an idea in your head and you just don't know how to actually put it into a design, you can tell like AI and it'll do it for you. So I am Nicolette Royal, owner of NRO Company. You can reach me at 702-969-3605. You can text the word print and I'll send you the link, or you can go to my Etsy store. You can also follow me on Instagram at NRO Company. So thank you guys. If you are somebody who has a business and you would like to feature your business in our Boss Talk Spotlight, go ahead and click the link below and fill out the entrance form to have your business showcased on our podcast. Until next time, you guys stay blessed, you guys stay grounded, and take care.